Hey everybody! Real fast before the episode starts, just wanted to give you a bit of a announcement update thing. Basically, obviously, as you can probably tell in the feed this Friday, there is not a regular themed episode like I'd normally do. This will be my first time not releasing a themed episode on Friday, but because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to, I decided to basically my last the May movie news podcast episode. I just postponed that release until this Friday. That way, you guys get something on Friday. I got my real estate license, which is awesome, and so now I'm starting on my real estate stuff, and I'm still doing my insurance job, and obviously that means that there's a lot going on. Because of that, I just was too busy this week to get the episode done, and I'm sorry, guys. But I did do the movie episode, so that's one of the reasons why I wasn't able to do it. But the point is that I will be showing you that episode, and it's an hour long, basically, so it's even more content than what you would be used to on a Friday. So, there you go. There's something. I think I may end up doing this just to kind of set some of the workload. I may end up every first Friday of the month basically release the movie news episode as my Friday episode, and that way it'll kind of, like I said, it kind of relieves some of the workload that way, and it kind of evens things out too, right? We've got 4 Fridays in a month usually, and so each Friday has something, the 3 themed episodes and then the movie news episode, and we kind of have a cycle that way, and that'll give me 1 extra week to prepare for the next theme, that kind of stuff. So moving forward, I think that's what we're going to be doing. We'll see. I'll definitely keep you guys updated as it goes, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop making content. Don't worry. I know I've got a small but dedicated following, so I want to make sure that they know that I'm going to keep releasing content. I already know what theme I'm going to do. I just got to watch the movie and write up my notes and do all that kind of stuff, and it takes a second. So I've been pretty busy lately, but that's a good thing because that means that life is progressing and I'm learning new things, and life is good. But it's busy. So and I still love movies, so we're still going to be talking about them. And as you're going to see in this episode, there's lots of movie news to get into, which is really fun. I've really been enjoying kind of adding that addition. I don't want to take that away either because it's really fun for me to kind of talk. And also for those of you that maybe don't follow me on Instagram, definitely follow Film Haven Reviews on Instagram because that's where I post my reviews, like the written reviews. You can see the posters for the movies. And also, once a month, I actually do the movie news episode live. So you can actually watch me and interact with me as I'm kind of giving you guys some news. So that's it. I just wanted to give you a bit of a heads up, kind of explain why the themed episode isn't out today. But enjoy the movie news podcast because I think it was a pretty good one. All right. I hope you guys have a great week this week, and I will see you next Friday. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the kind of side podcast within the podcast of Film Haven Reviews and the Movie Podium. I think I'm going solo again tonight, but that's okay because we got lots to talk about, and we need to get into it because otherwise we'll be here all night. But thank you for everyone who is joining me tonight. We're just going to hang out and talk about some movie news. And this episode is about the month of May, of course. So for May movie news, we got lots to cover. So I hope you enjoy it. So first off, we got our top news here. Of course, we got to put our little video in here. For first things first, we got to talk about some updates. So last month, I should say, I talked about how the Academy members, there's some new rule with the Oscars where the Academy members have to actually watch the movies, which is like, imagine, right? Well, as it turns out, of course, they are not doing that. They found a way out of it. So Academy voters have been caught cheating the Oscars system with the play and walk away trick. So there's just nothing we can do to keep these Academy members, the ones who are supposed to love movies so much, from watching the movies that they are supposed to watch. I'm wondering what kind of kickbacks they get for being in the Academy, because why else? If you're not going to watch the movies, is it just for the clout to say I'm in the Academy? I mean, that makes sense, I guess. But anyways, just leave it to them to figure out a way to just play and walk away. It makes sense.
Obviously, we don't want the Academy to start like monitoring the people to make sure that their eyes are watching. That's too Big Brother. But it is annoying that even though the Oscars have tried to make them watch the dang movies, they're not doing it anyway. So we'll see how that all pans out at the Oscars for 2025. But yeah, that's the update for that. I thought that was kind of funny. Newest update. This is pretty. Some of the stuff that I'm coming up with at the beginning here is pretty new. This one's a pretty big bomb right now. We got the Batman Part 2 is actually like the script is actually finished. Matt Reeves is finally ready to submit the script for the Batman Part 2. Now, this is an update because last month we talked about how it's possible this movie's dead in the water, mostly because there is possible scheduling conflicts with Robert Pattinson being cast in Dune 3, and they're going to be filming that a lot in the late summer. And that might be the time when Matt Reeves is trying to film Batman Part 2. And he is famously someone who takes a lot of takes and takes his time with his films. And so it's going to take up a lot of Robert Pattinson's time. So there's just obviously some conflicts here. But one of the issues was that the script hadn't even been written. It kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So as we see here, it is officially ready to be submitted. So hopefully we get something, but like I said last month, I mean, hey, if Batman 2 doesn't happen, I'm okay with it because the Batman 1 was good, and sometimes you just need one good movie. You don't need to sequel everything. Anyway, so moving on, this is also pretty big. I think this trailer for this new sequel dropped today or yesterday, the Black Phone 2, which is really awesome because Black Phone 1 was amazing. I thought it was really good. Very good movie from director Scott Derrickson, who has a lot of good films under his belt, like Sinister and Doctor Strange. And I think that Black Phone is definitely one of those films that will be thought of later as like a really solid spooker. And also because it was written by Joe Hill, or based on Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son's short story, that you really felt that in the Black Phone 1. So I'm hoping that maybe Joe Hill will come on for this film to be kind of maybe a consultant or a writing consultant. That would be great so that we can keep that flair, because I think one of the things that make Black Phone so good is that it actually kind of had that good Stephen King feel of having a supernatural story but set in like a real time and place, and it felt like a normal story with just a little bit of a supernatural twist. And as sequels go, they do tend to have a hard time staying with the realism. So we'll see. This just came out, so I actually haven't watched the trailer yet. I've been trying to prepare for this episode, but if you haven't yet, go check out the trailer for Black Phone 2. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. Okay, this is also brand new info right here that just dropped, I think, within the last couple hours. Sinners is officially going to have a sequel. Warner Brothers is greenlighting it, but unfortunately, it's going to be without Ryan Coogler, which is like womp womp, like big womp womp for me. He's the reason why like that movie is so good. Obviously, his passion, and Michael B. Jordan, of course. But I don't really know what you'd want to do with the sequel anyway. The movie has a story that kind of, doesn't leave too much for your imagination afterwards. I think possibly, I guess you could, their version of vampires you can go into, but there wasn't a lot of loose threads in that film. So leave it to Warner Brothers to be like, oh, this movie did really well. It's like killing in the box office and it's a cultural sensation. Let's make another one. So I'm not super excited for that. I think that most people are going to side eye that once they hear about this, but what do you do? Warner Brothers is going to do Warner Brothers things. Anyway, next thing, this is also a weird update. This just kind of dropped last couple of days. Ryan Gosling has officially started negotiations to be Ghost Rider in the MCU with Disney. Don't get me wrong. I love Ryan Gosling. He's a great actor. And of course, Ryan Gosling can do anything. That's the thing. He can make anything work, but that doesn't mean that he should. And I just feel like there's so many better choices out there for Ghost Rider, and he's not the one. So someone was saying, "Oh, what's that guy's name?" I'm gonna mess it up, but it's the guy from one of the guys from Walking Dead. Is a famous character in that. And I think he would be pretty good. But Ryan Gosling, like, I don't know. I feel like he's been really hitting with these like big box office movies lately. He's been doing a lot of like, I mean, some would say selling out, but I think he's obviously just getting his bag, which is fine. If he wants to do that, he's done a lot of good work over the years, so he doesn't need to be doing these critically acclaimed films every year. But at the same time, I do miss kind of independent film Ryan Gosling. I miss like Lars and the Real Girl, Ryan Gosling, and what was it, Half Nelson? He was so good in that, and of course Drive. And so lately, I mean, he was great in Barbie. He was great in The Fall Guy. He's doing that kind of role really well. This kind of surface level role, and I feel like Ghost Rider once again. Although Ghost Rider can have some depth in his character, just having him being a Marvel character is just like another one to the Marvel, suction. But that's all right. Who knows? It might be good. You never know. I mean, like I said, Ryan Gosling can pretty much do anything, so we'll see. Next up, this one's kind of fun. I think Allie will enjoy this. We Kim Kardashian and Pedro Pascal in The Bodyguard, a remake of The Bodyguard. Now, obviously, people are immediately going to be upset because Kim Kardashian is not a famous singer like Whitney Houston. But at the same time, I mean, she's been trying to break into acting for a long time, and this could be a good role for her. I mean, it's definitely probably the first time that she's been in like a leading role. And Pedro Pascal is obviously good in everything, and perhaps maybe a little bit overcast right now. But at the same time, I think he could play the kind of role that needs to be played, like Kevin Costner's character in The Bodyguard from, I think it was 1990. I think he could play that role. And I think that Kim K could try, and we'll see what happens. I think regardless, it was a famous movie at the time, and it's obviously got a long legacy to it. So who knows? I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that most people are probably going to have some problems with it because Kim K is just obviously a very divisive figure. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, just give her a chance. Next, this one's actually really exciting, and no one's talking about this. I just randomly saw this on Horror News Instagram. And this is Sam Raimi has just wrapped a new film, Send Help. And I love this description here. It says, they say, think Castaway meets Misery, pure survival horror nightmare fuel. I love this. Rachel McAdams is in it. It's coming out just the beginning of next year. Very excited about this. I think that Ali and I, we love survival movies. And what was that one that I really like to talk about, like kind of like island survival movies? There was one, Turista, I don't know how to say it. That one's really good. They're like in Brazil. And then there's also A Perfect Getaway. That one's in Hawaii. That one's really fun too. That one's got Timothy Olyphant and Steve Zahn in it. And it's really good. So I love those kind of vibes. And then with Sam Raimi being the one directing it, I think that's really exciting because I feel like you can really see how this legendary director can make kind of a scenario like that be something that's very enticing and also very scary. Raimi has got a very diverse kind of repertoire in his movies, and I think this will kind of add to him having a different take on the island horror genre. Next up, speaking of filmmakers, writers, directors, stuff like that, Dev Patel is set to write, direct, and star in a medieval revenge thriller called The Peasant. So in a way, this is kind of, I would imagine, a bit of a spiritual successor, or maybe a just a sophomore attempt from Dev Patel on this writing, directing, starring thing, because he did the same, of course, last year with The Monkey Man, or just Monkey Man. So this one, The Peasant, I'm really excited for this, mostly because I feel like he did really good in the movie The Green Knight, and that was in medieval times. And I feel like Dev Patel kind of showed that he can do medieval movies, and so we'll see here with this revenge thriller. I feel like that's going to be pretty good. Not much to talk about too much because we haven't seen it yet, but anything on it. But it is rumored, and I think it's going to be good. Next up, we got a little bit of tea here, which is kind of fun. The movie Weapons, which you guys have probably seen the trailer for yet if you've been going to the movies. It's that one where all the kids are running out into the street. And of course, this is the second movie, the sophomore attempt. Speaking of sophomore attempts of Zach Krieger, the director of Barbarian, he's doing Weapons. But what's interesting is this is a bit of an update of sorts, or at least it's relevant to some of the last episodes we've done on the Movie News podcast. Is that he he was in a bidding war this time with Universal, and I don't know who the other person was, but Universal and specifically Jordan Peele's uh, producing kind of production company called like Monkey Paw Productions, I believe. They lost the bid, which was weird because, like we talked about a couple months ago with Resident Evil, there was a huge bidding war between Sony and some other companies, and Sony won out. So it's like, I don't know what's going on with Zach Krieger, but he has obviously got some kind of sauce behind the scenes here, because he is being fought after, not just for weapons, but also for the Resident Evil movie that's coming up. So he's been a busy guy. And I mean, I know Barbarians did well and was received well, but I mean, it's just one movie. So it's kind of crazy that people are taking so many chances on him, or at least fighting over him so much. I wonder if they've read the script and it sounds really good. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's some stuff here. It's so bad that Jordan Peele actually fired. Let's look here. It's a long quote, but let's go down here. Following the loss, so like after they lost the bidding war, Peele parted ways with his longtime managers at Artists First, Joel Zadak and Peter Principato, the latter also representing Krieger, which that's interesting. While the exact reasons for this decision remain unconfirmed, the timing has led to speculation that the outcome of the bidding war influenced his choice. So obviously, Jordan Peele has had a very good run with Get Out and Us and then Nope. And so for him to fire kind of his managers who have obviously done pretty well for him over this bidding war, there's got to be some deeper stuff going on here. I think that's very interesting. And it also makes me want to see Weapons, because I'm like, man, maybe they're seeing something that we don't know yet. I mean, the trailer looks fun. It looks like a good movie. And Barbarian was great, so I definitely trust it. But I just think that's really interesting. Zach Krieger, without really, I mean, he's obviously was in The Whitest Kids You Know, but without really establishing himself too much as a director, he is becoming kind of a hot commodity. All right, moving on, we have James Cameron, of course, is always making news of James Cameron. He confirms that Ghost of Hiroshima will be his next non-Avatar film, which is interesting. I mean, that's definitely a different take for him. Most of the movies that James Cameron's ever made has been some kind of action film. Ghost of Hiroshima, while having obviously some inherent spectacle in the fact that there is atomic bomb involved, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of effects involved with that, which is what he's known for, pushing effects with Avatar and things like that, and of course T2 and all kinds of other movies. It will be interesting to see him take on a role like this, although he's done historical stuff before. Of course, we have Titanic. That was probably one of his most famous movies. But what is interesting to me is that he says this is his next non-Avatar film. And my question is, when's he going to be done with Avatar? Because there's supposed to be like 5 Avatars. So, and look at the dude. I mean, the dude's like in his late 60s now. Like by the time he's done with Avatar 5, I think he might be checked out of directing, but who knows? I mean, Martin Scorsese's in his 80s and he's still going. Ridley Scott's in his 80s and he's still going. Who knows? But I think that's really interesting. I think I would like to see James Cameron do something that's non-Avatar. Not that I don't like Avatar. I think the first one is pretty good, and then the second one I really enjoyed. So I'm down for him to keep making Avatars, but with someone like James Cameron who has such a talent, especially when it comes to visual effects, I feel like I would like to see him kind of utilize those talents somewhere else for a change. You know, it'd be kind of nice because his career, he's made some really good films. I mean, when he makes a movie, it's a good movie. There's really no doubt about it. So I really would like to see him do something else. So I'm excited to see this Ghost of Hiroshima. It's a good topic too. I think it's really interesting, and I hope that he does it well. Next up, this one's kind of interesting. Charlie XCX is going to star and produce in Takashi Miike's next film, which this is strange. For those of you that don't know Takashi Miike, he is one of the strangest directors I've ever watched movies of. You might know him from movies like Audition, which I reviewed, Ichi the Killer, which I unfortunately watched a long time ago. It is a very disturbing and strange film. And then my second review ever, actually, on the podcast, not on the podcast, but on my Instagram, was the movie First Love that he came out with in 2019. That one's pretty good too. The thing about Takashi Miike, though, is that he makes and I'm not even kidding, he makes 10 films a year, which is crazy. He is probably the most prolific director in cinema history. And so in the same year that he'll make something like Audition, which is this weird, sleepy psychodrama torture film at the end, He'll also make like a bunch of TV show episodes that are like super hammy, and then he'll make like a comedy, and then he's just never stops making stuff. But he makes a lot of weird stuff, and so I think it's interesting that Charlie XCX is coming in for this. She seems to be doing a lot of producing, because I also saw, and I couldn't find the article again, but I saw it on my on my feed, and I couldn't pull it back up. But basically, Charlie XCX really enjoyed what's the movie? Final Destination Bloodlines. And she wants to do a sequel to Bloodlines but have the main characters be all Hollywood it girls. And so what I kind of took from that was that it's going to be like I don't know, like Mikey Madsen and Sydney Sweeney and like Sophie Thatcher and like all these people, but they're actually maybe playing themselves, or at least playing parodies of themselves. I think that could actually be pretty fun. Kind of like how Smile 2 was playing like on like a mix of Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga and playing with that got superstardom as a backdrop. I think that was a really good move for Smile 2. And so I think, especially considering Ali and I and some of our friends, we saw the Bloodlines. We saw Final Destination Bloodlines, and we really enjoyed it. And one of the reasons why it was good was because it didn't take itself too seriously. It definitely leaned into its like kind of tropiness. And I think that kind of going full ham on it with this kind of film is a good idea. So I think Charlie XCX might be onto something there, turning into a bit of a film producer there, which is kind of fun. Speaking of Mikey Madison and Kirsten Dunst are set to star in a movie called Reptilla, directed by, and I'm going to butcher this, Alejandro Landes Echevarria. I tried. There's not much on this yet, but I thought what was interesting about it was the description of the synopsis, which just sounds absolutely wild. The description in part reads that it is about a dental hygienist who is seduced by a mysterious mermaid and sent into the dark and weird underworld of Florida's exotic animal trade. Wow. So I guess it's like real life Joe Exotic, or not real life, dramatic Joe Exotic kind of vibes, Tiger King kind of stuff, but in Florida and with Mikey Madison and Kirsten Dunst. So two like heavy hitters. Very interesting. And I want to say this is probably the role that she turned Star Wars down for. So, good for her for going for the weird thing instead of the thing that's going to make you a lot of money. Looking at you, Ryan Gosling. Anyway, moving on. Carl Urban is returning in a Dredd series, so like Judge Dredd series at Amazon from the Boys team. Now, this is a TV show, so it's movie news adjacent because Judge Dredd is obviously a comic book character, but it's also a character from a big movie series that was with Sylvester Stallone, and then Carl Urban played Dredd in I think it was 2011 or 2012. And that movie is actually really good. But it was a standalone film. I don't think it was very successful at the time, but it has since kind of got a acclaim, like a cult acclaim. So I'm really excited to see what this comes with, especially because The Boys obviously is a very highly lauded TV show. And every season, everyone's liking it more and more. And I've seen season 1, and I know that the action and the way that they utilize like maybe a lower budget is really well done. And so I think that especially with their action style, a movie like, and they're just their general style, I think a movie like Dredd, a show like Dredd could be really well done and could be well received. And everybody loves Carl Urban in The Boys, and everyone loves Carl Urban as Judge Dredd. So I think that's kind of a good marriage there between the creators, that he obviously already has a personal relationship because he's in The Boys, and then an IP that he already has a relationship because he's played Judge Dredd before. So that's pretty fun. Next, and this is weird. This is very strange to me, and I don't know. I'm side-eyeing this pretty heavily. Daniel Day-Lewis is reportedly being eyed to play Magneto in the MCU. Now, I think the big thing here is reportedly being eyed. So one, reportedly, that's kind of like people are saying, and being eyed is not in talks with, because my thing is Daniel Day-Lewis, he's not going to say yes. The dude retires from acting after he does every movie, and then he goes on a hiatus for like 6 years, and then he'll come back for one role. The last movie was Phantom Thread in 2019. So it's been 6 years again. So it's about time, not for him to come out of his cave and make another movie. But I think the next movie he's making is one that his son has directed and written. So obviously now he's just doing it for his kid, which is totally fair. But famously, Daniel Day-Lewis is not someone who goes for the money or goes for things that are going to be lucrative. It's definitely for the love of the role, and if it's like an opportunity that he can't pass up on. So I definitely doubt that he's actually going to play Magneto. That being said, kind of like Ryan Gosling, Daniel Day-Lewis can do anything. If they tell him that you need to be this, then he's going to transform himself into that role. Magneto is a very complicated character, especially if you love the comics. You know that he's got a lot going on with him, and he's been played very well by Ian McKellen, who is obviously a very good actor in his own right and a very serious actor. So it could work. I just I don't think it's going to happen. He's going to say no. There's just no way around it. So, but what a weird thing. I don't even. I mean, obviously, it would be any producer's dream to get Daniel Day-Lewis to play in any movie because you get instant clout, especially from the critical side of cinema. So, yeah, that would be great, but it's just not going to happen. Next. And this one, most gamers know this already because it was huge news when it came out. This came out at the beginning of the month. But yeah, it's official. A24 is making the Elden Ring movie directed by ... Alex Garland, which is like, what? There's a lot of what's there. I've got lots of thoughts on this one. So let me think here. So first off, A24. For a movie that would need a massive budget. Now, for those of you that don't know, Elden Ring is a very famous video game that came out, I think, in 2021 now. It's the same people who make Dark Souls and Bloodborne. It's FromSoft and Bandai Namco. And these are some of my favorite games personally, like of all time. But what's interesting about this is that Elden Ring in particular was co-written by George R.R. Martin, which of course wrote Game of Thrones. And so obviously they know that Game of Thrones was marketable for the screen because it was extremely popular and famous, even though season 8 apparently was terrible. I'd never seen Game of Thrones. I apologize. But that being said, Elden Ring, out of all the Soulsborne games, we got Dark Souls and all those, Elden Ring is by far the biggest and grandest, which means for A24 to be making a movie about Elden Ring, you're going to need to pump some money in, and that's not what A24 is really known for. I'm trying to think of A24's biggest budget. Actually, I want to say A24's biggest budget was the last Alex Garland film, which was Civil War. So maybe they're just banking on him because they know that he did well with the money that they gave him last time. I mean, that's my guess. I don't know, but Alex Garland as well. We're going to talk about that because he's hit or miss for me personally. I think that Ex Machina is an incredible film. That is like, ooh, he did a good job there. And then we look at Annihilation and I'm like, that movie was weird. Like, it had a great concept, also adapted from a book. It was an adaptation. And apparently he said that he didn't even reread the book after reading, he read it like 10 years before and didn't even reread the book when he wrote the script for the movie because he wanted it to seem like it was like a dream. And it feels that way when you're watching the movie now, for better or for worse. In my opinion, I feel like the pacing was super off. The vibes were weird. There were great little moments within Annihilation, but overall, Men was also just like half of a pretty good movie, and then it just falls off a cliff and does. I mean, kudos to Alex Garland. He has one of the strangest scenes I've ever seen in my entire life in the climax of that movie, but it is not. I wouldn't say that when I watch Men, I'm not like he should direct Elden Ring. Civil War was pretty good, though. I did like Civil War. I like that he chose not to be too political, that he just kind of chose to be a little bit more like focused on the kind of what it's like to be a journalist in wartime, especially in modern war. And I thought that was really interesting. Had lots of implications without really beating you over the head with it. And the cinematography and stuff like that was also really good. So I really liked that movie. So the possibility of him doing something good with, I've never seen him do fantasy. So that's why I'm like, I just don't know if Alex Garland is the pick. Obviously, he's a good writer. He's written a lot of good films. And as we're going to be talking about Alex Garland again later when we talk about 28 Years Later. He famously wrote 28 Days Later. And, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, Jeff. I'm just yelling about Alex Garland and how I don't think he should be directing Elden Ring. But he is, so that's it. Also, on that subject, I don't feel like Elden Ring is the movie that needs to be made out of all the FromSoft Soulsborne games. I feel like Bloodborne is probably the best one. And if anyone's ever seen the movie The Brotherhood of the Wolf, you know that it's possible for a Bloodborne-ish kind of movie to be made. This kind of epic, gothic, Victorian. We're seeing stuff like that in movies like last year's Nosferatu. And I feel like that definitely seems a lot more in tune with like a cinematic vision than Elden Ring, which honestly, if you're going to do Elden Ring, you probably should do it Game of Thrones style and have it be a show, because it's just too big. It's too massive. The story and the lore is too thick, as you would imagine from a George R.R. Martin story. So you should do that. I mean, I feel like it should be Bloodborne and do like a show of Elden Ring. But the thing is that Elden Ring, yeah. Guillermo del Toro doing Bloodborne would be, as we're seeing, we'll talk in just a little bit about Frankenstein. Del Toro could do a really good job with that. Also, of course, I feel like, which he wouldn't do it, but Robert Eggers would be great for Bloodborne. But yeah, so Elden Ring was the most popular, and it's been the most financially lucrative video game from FromSoft, so it makes sense why studios like A24 is trying to bank off of that. But it's also not really like A24 to bank off of an IP. I think that's actually, I don't know if they've ever done that before. So this is all like kind of weird and new, and I don't know if I like it, to be honest. So I'm happy because a Soulsborne is getting a movie. That's cool. But I wish they maybe would have gone in a different direction with it. I'm not loving some of their choices, so I don't know if I'm cautiously optimistic or cautiously pessimistic. I'm not sure. Anyway, so moving on. This one's kind of interesting. This is a rumor, by the way. I don't know if this is actually happening, and I'll tell you why. I think I'm a little side-eyeing this, but apparently there's a Freddy versus Michael in the works with Robert Englund returning. Here's one of the reasons why is because Robert Englund has already said multiple times over the years that he is not going to be playing Freddy again because he's just too, and I think he said he's too damn old. The thing is though, if this is true, and I know that this could really be terrible, I like Freddy versus Jason. I think it's a really fun trash classic. I think it's super trashy and super great, and it's just like totally knows what it is. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's fun to see Freddy Krueger and Jason fight. Michael Myers those movies don't ever really get self-aware is one of the things though. Like Jason movies, there are some that are like pseudo comedies, and of course Freddy Krueger has always been a little funny. So it worked with that, but I don't know if this is going to work. Also, I think everyone's a little done after Halloween ends. We need a little break from Michael Myers, I think personally. But okay, speaking of people who are too old to reprise roles that they have previously been famous for, Ron Perlman is apparently back, as well as Guillermo del Toro, in making Hellboy 3. And Hellboy 3 is apparently supposed to be in part 1 and 2. So we're going to be seeing basically Hellboy 3 and 4 to finish out the original trilogy that Guillermo del Toro had started. What's interesting about this to me, I really like this idea. Apparently, he's been writing the script for a while. It says here Del Toro has been working on the script for years, and now the story is set. And the plot will center on Hellboy training his twin sons along his wife, Liz, who they're announcing here, Selma Blair, is coming back, which is cool. And so it's supposed to be a conclusion to the original trilogy. Ron Perlman's returning, but I have a couple of things that I'm maybe side-eyeing here. Del Toro obviously does good work. I trust him as a director. But one of the things here is that, like, I think he was in his mid to late 50s. Ron Perlman was when he was making the original Hellboys. And I know from being a kid and watching the DVD commentaries that he talked endlessly about how arduous it was physically for him to be in that role because they're doing a lot of things practical, which is really good. And Del Toro does do a lot of practical effects, which is one of the reasons why he's a great director. The thing is that now Ron Perlman's like in his late 70s. He's like, I think he's almost pushing 80. I want to say he's like 76 or 78, something like that. Yeah, I know. You're so right. That script has been dead in the water for a long time. But with Del Toro doing Frankenstein, that's actually a good point, Jeff. With Del Toro doing Frankenstein, I really feel like if that movie's a hit, he can kind of go back to At the Mountains of Madness and show like, hey, these kind of romantic, like romance kind of early horror novels and novellas like At the Mountains of Madness are totally bankable, especially since, as we'll talk in just a second about how Frankenstein, the trailer that just dropped, seems very book accurate, because it, unlike a lot of the Frankenstein media out there from the other movies and stuff, I think it could be really, it could be a really good, Frankenstein could be a really good kind of platform for him to then jump off into something like At the Mountains of Madness. But as far as Hellboy goes, my issue is that he's so old that they're definitely going to suit him up. He's going to look great, but they're going to have to rely a lot on CGI, and they're going to have to rely a lot on stunt doubles, which if they do the stunt doubles right, that could be good. But I'm just afraid that it's not going to look as organic as the first two films did. And that's a no-go for me. I'd rather them just not do it if it's going to look hokey. We don't want to be looking, it's these like kind of legacy characters when they come back, it's kind of hit or miss. So I'm a little skeptical, but I am also super excited to see Hellboy kind of return to form in some ways. The only difference too is that the actual story, I'm really interested in that, because the story in the second one, whatever it's called, the second Del Toro Hellboy movie, Hellboy 2, totally branched off from the comic books. Del Toro kind of did his Del Toro thing, and decided to make his own aesthetics and kind of change away from Mike Mignola's kind of vision. And I think that, so if you're already kind of branching off from the original story and going off on your own, what's 3 and 4 going to look like? I don't know. I just think it's going to be interesting at the very least. But speaking of Guillermo del Toro, the first trailer for Frankenstein is here, and I'm guessing that Jeff, you watched it, and other people saw it, and it looks pretty good. Here's some stills from it. I want to point out some things. This top left here, you can see Oscar Isaac as Dr. Frankenstein, and this is obviously in the cabin of the ship in the Arctic, from the intro and outro of the, oh yeah, you got to watch it. It looks really good. From the intro and the outro of the book. That's how the story starts, is where this kind of ship, these people out Arctic, exploring the Arctic, and they find this half dead man who ends up being Dr. Frankenstein, who is chasing after his monster. And so the only movie that's ever actually shown this scene is Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein from 1994, and that movie is interesting to say the least. It is the most book accurate film to the original Mary Shelley's book, but it also takes a lot of liberties. And so what I'm hoping here is Del Toro does the same, but maybe stays a little bit more accurate. Obviously, he's Del Toro-fying it with his style, his over-the-top kind of high Gothic style. And you'll see some shots, if you watch the trailer, Jeff, that is just like very much like almost Gothic fantasy. But I'm into that. I think he can do that as much as he wants. I just want the actual story elements to stay the same. That would be great. Also, we're seeing Mia Goth here, which is cool. I'm guessing she's playing the love interest of Dr. Frankenstein, which is cool. I love that. And then he's watching it now. One thing I don't necessarily love is this shot here on the bottom right with Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein's monster in this like kind of crucifix position. I just don't know if I like the design here. It looks almost like Marvel-y, and it looks broken down and like kind of base. I don't know. It looks kind of cheap, to be honest. When you look at some other shots, like the one right above it with the coffin, that looks very Del Toro vibes, but it also looks ornate and beautiful. Whereas the one below it, just I don't know. I'm kind of nitpicking here. So overall, I thought that the trailer was great. I think it definitely injects a kind of high fantasy into Frankenstein, which, as long as you keep those story elements the same as the book, I think could work really well. And one Del Toro movie that I need to watch is Crimson Peak. I don't know how I haven't seen that yet, but I'm getting some Crimson Peak vibes. I know, Jeff, you've seen that. You can maybe tell me if that is true or not. But yeah, that's really interesting. Speaking of Oscar Isaac, though, we've got all these segues tonight. Flesh of the Gods is a new movie with Oscar Isaac and Kristen Stewart. I don't really know anything about it, but I love the title, Flesh of the Gods. I want to say it's kind of like supposed to be Lovecraftian of sorts. So I'm really excited for that. I think that this movie could be really good. Just based off of the title alone. And obviously those two actors are good. Kristen Stewart has been getting more and more clout as she gets older. I still need to see Love Lies Bleeding, but I've heard that she was great in that. That's where that screenshot's from in the post here. And then, of course, Oscar Isaac is pretty much great in everything he does. This one's kind of fun. Hunter Schafer is going to play Zelda, possibly. Rumored. And if you even just look at this picture, I mean, I think it's perfect casting. I mean, look, she looks just like Zelda. That's great. I think that's really good. Now, am I into a Zelda movie? I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever watch it. I've never really been a big Zelda person, and I'm sorry for Zelda fans to say that. I've just not ever been too big of a Nintendo person in general. So, but I just saw that and I thought, wow, that's really good casting. You don't always get that. But that is like, I mean, picture perfect right there. I thought that was kind of cool. But I know in the trailer, I love at the end there where he's fighting. That is definitely a little bit of him taking liberties, because I think in the book he kind of just sneaks his way into the cabin. But that's kind of cool though, that he kind of fights off the guys. Yeah, that was the thing I knew you were gonna like, is that flaming goddess. That's definitely Del Toro-fying things. I don't even know what that would be in the book. But anyway, this is kind of fun. First look at the movie Whistle, with Daphne Keane, who I believe is the one who plays X2 in Logan and the newest what's the movie? Deadpool movie. The reason why I even wanted to point this out is because just from this, I can tell that this whistle is going to be kind of like you blow the whistle and someone dies or something. And I'm just noticing this trend of this Final Destination stuff is becoming really popular, right? So you've got the monkey that just came out. That movie is like when the monkey hits the drum, someone dies randomly. And then you had the reboot of Final Destination or a requel, whatever you want to call it. You got a new Final Destination just came out after a long time. And so that's like the concept of the Final Destination of someone doing something and then someone dying, like death coming to find you, is kind of resurging. And I don't know if it's just filmmakers kind of taking the trend and trying to monopolize on it or capitalize on it. But it is interesting because I don't know exactly what this movie is supposed to be about, but just from the picture here and from the name Whistle, it's obviously some kind of like Mayan whistle or something, and she's going to blow on it and someone's going to die. It's bad things are going to happen at the very least, some kind of curse movie. So it could be very unoriginal, or it could be, depending on how they do it, it could be good. So yeah, I think that's everything for the news. I think the next thing here that we're going to be doing is our horror watch. Of course, not too many this month. It's kind of a dry month, but there's at least two of these that are pretty big, I would say. The first one here is very small. It's called The Ritual. As you can see here, 4.6 user score, not too great. What's interesting though is it's Al Pacino and Dan Stevens. Now, for those of you that watch my movie podcast or watch my other podcasts, you know that I love Dan Stevens, and I'm always in a Dan Stevens mood, and he's been killing it lately. But apparently this movie is not too good, especially considering the fact that no one's talking about it and there's been no advertising about it, and it comes out this Friday. Actually, the first three films that we're going to be talking about for the month of June is coming out this Friday. And so, yeah, I'll read you the synopsis though, just in case you might want to watch it. It's two priests, one in crisis with his faith, and the other confronting a turbulent past, must overcome their differences to perform a risky exorcism. So, yeah, I think from the reviews I was already reading, and of course these are early reviews. There's only 351. Actually, that's kind of high. It's a movie that is not being talked about, and I think it's because they're kind of trying to push it under the radar because it's not very good. Al Pacino has been known as of the last few years for making some movies that are pretty like iffy, but he's also like, once again, he's like 80 something, so you know what, he's making his bag and that's fine. The thing about it is that Dan Stevens, but Dan Stevens, one of the things I like about him is that he's not afraid to just do something. And he's in all kinds. Just last year, he was in Abigail. Then he was in Godzilla and Kong New Empire. And then he was in Cuckoo. Yeah, like super, all three different movies, very different. And he was willing to play those roles. So, you know what? Good for him. Maybe it's good. I think a lot of people are saying it's bad, but I think it's because it's just another Exorcist movie, and everyone's kind of tired of it. And I understand. After 2023, when every single movie was about possession, I think we need to take a step and wait until possession movies come back. Okay, next one here is Dangerous Animals. Now, this one looks interesting. It's got pretty good scores here, 6.6 and 63 Metascore, pretty consistent here. This one also comes out this Friday. Don't know too much about it. I'll read the synopsis here. When Zephyr, a savvy and free-spirited surfer, is abducted by a shark-obsessed serial killer and held captive on his boat, she must figure out how to escape before he carries out a ritualistic feeding to the sharks below. So that's definitely just that synopsis off the bat is definitely up Ali and I's alley because we like shark movies, we like survival horror movies, and we like this kind of I guess it's like a cat and mouse film of sorts. So all those things put together sounds pretty cool. Yeah, that poster is awesome too. I'm kind of covering it up a little bit with the ratings, but yeah, I love that poster myself. I think it's really cool. So he's, I guess, using people to chum the waters in some kind of ritual. The main guy, Josh Houston, he's in a lot of stuff. If you saw his face, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that guy." He's really good. Kind of unsung. Not seeing. You don't see people talking about him that much, but every time he's in something, he's always really good. So I'm excited for that. This next one also under the radar. I think this one also got released previously, but then like same with Dangerous Animals, I think this movie has been released in other countries and it just hasn't come to America yet. This movie, same deal. I think it maybe got released earlier. There's only 95 reviews for user and 5 critics. But people seem to like it okay. It's kind of, I think it's more of a comedy than it is a horror movie. But the premise is interesting here. Stranded in rural Italy without transportation or language skills, an American couple on the verge of adopting tries to reconnect during a disastrous vacation as their fears and relationship problems threaten to boil over. So it sounds like it's like comedy relationship problems with a side of murder. It's supposed to be a horror comedy, but I think it's definitely more on the comedy side. Nick Kroll can be pretty funny at times, and so I think maybe this could work. But once again, this movie also flying under the radar, making you wonder, like, with no advertising, do the studios not have any confidence in it? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the movie isn't good. It just means that it could mean that the movie's not good. It just could mean that. I'm not saying one way or the other. I haven't seen it. But if you want to check it out, it's coming out this Friday. All 3 of these movies, The Ritual, Dangerous Animals, and Demented, or I know the movies I don't I don't understand you is what the movie's called. And yeah. So if you want to check it out, if you like movies if you want to watch like a bit of a horror movie, but you want it to be a little light, comedic, this will probably be the movie for you. And then this one's the one I'm most excited for, Megan 2.0. That's right. It's coming out at the end of this month. So far with the pre-screenings, we've got 164 people collectively giving it 6.1, which is, if you've seen the trailer, this actually kind of checks out because the premise is absolutely crazy. It is definitely... I mean, the original movie had a good amount of comedy, like a surprising amount of comedy, and was very self-aware. But this one ratchets it up to 10. This is like a classic, like, sequel taking the premise and just like blowing it up. I'll read the synopsis here. 2 years after Megan's rampage, her creator, Gemma, resorts to resurrecting her infamous creation in order to take down Amelia, the military-grade weapon who was built by a defense contractor who stole Megan's underlying tech. So basically, you've got like a kill bot that is being made by the military using Megan's design. And so Gemma has to reprogram the original Megan to fight the new and improved Megan. And so it's definitely giving much more action than it is horror. But and it has a lot of cheek to it. If you watch the trailer, there's a lot of like tongue-in-cheek kind of humor, very self-aware. And I think that could be really fun. I don't think it's going to be as good as the original. Like, if you're talking about like technicalities of, is this movie like is the craft better or something? Like, could this movie win awards? But let's be honest, Megan itself, the original, was not like the highest rated film to begin with. I gave it a 7. It was the first movie I reviewed on my podcast. And I enjoyed it because it kind of has that killer doll vibe. It's like a mix between Frankenstein, Terminator, and Chucky, which is like, kind of love that, right? And then there's a little bit of humor involved in there too. So I feel like Megan 2 is just leaning more into the humor and becoming ridiculous for the sake of doing so. And I think overall it's going to be a more entertaining film than the original at the very least, even if it's not quote unquote better. So I'm excited for it. I'm definitely going to be going to see it. I know Allie and I are going to go see it because we're having fun with the trailers so far. Last but not least, of course, we got to talk about it. 28 years later, it's coming out at the end of this month. And I got to be honest, I'm having a little bit of fatigue with this film because everyone's talking about it so much. I think it is probably the most hyped film of the year in the horror sense. It's the most hyped horror film of the year. People have been talking about it since last year. They've been trickling in photos. The whole idea of them filming this whole thing on iPhones has been like kind of getting a lot of traction from the tech heads and the people that are involved with, or the people that are really into the way that filming is done. So cinematography wise, it's going to at least be very interesting, although it's a little much, to be honest. Let's look at this picture here. This went viral this past week. This picture of this setup that they have for one shot of the film. And as you see here, all these little screens here are all iPhone 16 Pros. And they are on this like little rig here. And I mean, who knows what the effect is going to be, what they do with this, but I'm like, do you really need all that? I don't know. I mean, at the same time, I kind of applaud them for trying to do something creative and something new. I just wonder how much of it is a gimmick. I know that the original movie was intentionally filmed on a camcorder to kind of give it that gritty feeling, but I mean, let's face it. iPhone 16 Pro, like, it's not a secret that the iPhone's camera is incredible. It's not like I don't know, the background premise of using kind of like handheld technology to make this film, at least in the service of making it more gritty and kind of hands-on and feeling more realistic. I don't know if it works as well with the iPhone because they're also, I don't have a picture of it, but they're putting it on these like incredible camera lenses and rigs. And it's like, at some point, this is just the processor for a camera. I mean, it's just, there's no difference between this and a professional camera. Maybe I don't know enough about the details, and the craft of these cameras to know whether that's true or not. But to me, it's like, it's a little ridiculous, but honestly, I'm going to watch the movie and see. Anyway, let's look at the synopsis real fast, just in case you guys don't know. A group of survivors of the rage virus lives on a small island. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors. So they're obviously kind of trying to continue some lore with the kind of 28 days, weeks, and year mythos. I don't remember 28 weeks later. It's been so long since I've seen it, but I did rewatch 28 Days Later not too long ago. And honestly, and this is a possibly controversial opinion, it doesn't hold up that well. It's not super good. I remember really liking it at the time when I watched it as like a pretty young kid, but watching it again, it's kind of silly. And I don't like the camcorder. It's a really ugly film to watch in some ways. And I apologize to all the people that absolutely love that film, but it was, I think in some ways it was a well-written film, and it was definitely a different take on zombie movies at the time, which I think is what you need to kind of take into account when you're watching it. But that doesn't mean it holds up very well. At the same time, Alex Garland wrote that, and he's written a lot of other movies. And so that team up of Alex Garland and Danny Boyle, the original director, is coming back for this film. So whereas 28 Weeks Later was maybe a little bit of a branching off of the kind of the 28 Days Later mold, we're kind of coming back to form here. Even though it's 28 years later, the whole premise is a little bit different now. So it'd be very interesting to see. Like I said, I am feeling a little bit tired of seeing all the stuff for it, but once I watch it, it's going to be over. And like, thank God we can get through this. Sinners, at least, like, because I kind of compare these two as far as hype goes. Like, Sinners was hyped up, but like, people were talking about it a little bit, but then it kind of blew up as it came out, if that makes sense. Like, as soon as it came out, everyone's like, Sinners, Sinners, Sinners. 28 years later has been blowing up for the last like 6 to 8 months. And so it's a little like, I'm getting a little fatigued by it. But anyway, that's it for this month. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Next month, once again, we're going to be getting into more news. I'm sure there's going to be plenty and more movies. So I'm very excited about all that. Thank you once again for joining us, and I will see you next month. Bye.